So this presentation is about Darwinism, and in one of the previous presentations, we already mentioned and discussed on the Lamarck's idea on evolution and the Darwinism or Darwin's theory of natural selection. Actually, Darwin, at the age of 22, in the year 1831, joined the British warship HMS Beagle. HMS Beagle was setting out on a journey of the entire world for conducting scientific observations, for collecting different specimens for geology, botany, and zoological studies. And Darwin joined them. And during this voyage, Darwin made innumerable observations, took notes on plants, animals, and even the land masses for geological studies. And he collected a number of specimens from various parts of the world, specifically from South America, Galapagos Islands, and Australia. And back in 1836, Beagle returned to England. And back in England, Darwin spent the rest of his life studying and experimenting and publishing his works on the observations he had made during the voyage. And during this particular period, back to England during the period 1838, Darwin came across the essay on pollution published by T.R. Malthus. Malthus was a famous economist of that time. And in his essay, Malthus explained how human population increased in geometrical ratio until it is checked by various limiting factors like hunger, disease, war, even environmental factors, etc. So geometrical ratio, in the sense, it is like 2, 4, 16, likewise. Okay, so it increases in a square fashion. Okay, that is geometrical progression manner. Okay, so this particular idea by Malthus actually enabled Darwin to synthesize the idea of the struggle for existence within all populations, including other animals. Okay, he recognized that in such a struggle, organism possessing favorable variations would survive, while those with unfavorable ones would be eliminated. Okay, that is somewhat like fittest will survive. Fittest in the sense those with favorable variations. Okay, if for a particular trait there can be different variations. Okay, for example, height. It could be dwarf, it could be tall, it could be medium, different, isn't it? So those are the variations, fine, for the trait of height, right? But here what happens is the favorable variations will be the organisms with favorable variations will survive during the struggle for survival, while those with unfavorable ones will be eliminated. Okay, that is the observation, or that is the conclusion Darwin reached. And this offered actually Darwin a basis for the development of the idea of natural selection. Okay, and in 1858, actually Darwin's ideas, Darwin was going to publish the idea he had made on origin of species. But at the same time, almost at the similar time, Alfred Russel Wallace, he was another English naturalist. He had made what you call studies on Malayan archipelago, that is flora and fauna of Malayan archipelago he was studying. And he independently he arrived, Wallace arrived at similar conclusions, that is the conclusions which was made by Darwin. Almost similar conclusions he also reached. Okay, Darwin studied flora and fauna, mainly the flora and fauna of Australia, South America, Galapagos Islands, while Alfred Russel Wallace studied more on Malayan archipelago. Okay, but both these people they reached the same conclusion, similar conclusion actually. And in 1850, by 1858, Wallace had already come to a conclusion, a hypothesis, and but Wallace was not so confident to publish it as such. And Darwin was already established naturalist and a scientist, so Wallace knew about Darwin's contributions in the field. And what Wallace did is, whatever his observations were made during the Malayan, observations from Malayan archipelago studies, he had made an observation, he had made an article, and he sent this to Darwin for further comments. Okay. And Wallace sent an essay on the subject to Darwin for the suggestions and advice. And Darwin and Wallace then met later, and they published their what you call observations in the as a joint paper at a meeting of the Linnean Society of London in 1858. Okay, later in 1859. Darwin elaborated his theory in a volume entitled, a book entitled On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Okay, so whatever conclusions they had made and they had published as a paper, Darwin and Wallace, this was elaborated a little and published in 1859 as On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. It is a book. Okay, and this book, uh, uh, the sixth edition of this book, The Origin of Species, is appeared in 1872. Okay, so that was a contribution by Darwin and Wallace. Now, the theory of natural selection, if we speak, Darwin's theory of natural selection is based on numerous facts. Specifically, we can list it out: variations among individuals and species, that is, variations of all degrees present among individuals and species in nature. The second factor is geometric ratio of increase in population. That is, by the geometrical ratio of increase, the numbers of every species tend to become enormously large. Okay, so whatever be the animal population, whatever be the species, it increases, the population increases by way of a geometric pattern. Okay, then there is a struggle of existence. So this increase, this geometrical increase in population, it actually lead to struggle for existence, right? So you can see the geometric increase in population, it leads to struggle for existence. And then a process of natural selection is operative in nature, which results in survival of fittest and formation of a new species. Okay, what does it mean is, like, there is a what you call geometrical pattern of increase in population, but what happens is there are several natural factors which check the increase in population, and during this process there is a struggle for existence among the members of the population, and only the fittest will survive, the survival of the fittest. And those ones which are surviving will usually have favorable variations or favorable characters, and this may later on lead to this origin of a species. Okay, so we will look into in detail. Variations, they are actually, what are variations? Variations are actually the differences between individuals of a species. Okay, no two individuals of a population, it is they are exactly alike. They exhibit variations. It could be in different characteristic features like size, color, habits, then morphology, external and internal morphology, etc. And that there are two major types of variations. They are phenotypic and genotypic variations. Variations produced on the body by changes of environmental factors, they are known as phenotypic, that is external, isn't it? Genotype means it is at the level of the chromosome or the gene, isn't it? So genotypic variations are produced by changes in the genetic constitution of an organism, and it is the genetic variations that are heritable. Okay, genetic variations are the only ones which passes on to the next generation, while the phenotypic variations, they are not getting inherited. Okay, so genetic variations are heritable, and these genetic variations, it can be continuous and discontinuous. Okay, continuous variations are otherwise known as fluctuating variations, and they are small changes that show smooth gradation through the population. For example, if you take height, okay, you can see, if you take the just list out the height of every individual in your class, you can say there is it could be like one just like 152, 153, 156.5, 172. So likewise, it is a gradation. Okay, it is not unique number, but it could be gradation. Okay, there's a continuity in that. So that is, such kind of variations are referred as continuous variations or fluctuating variations. So these variations are small changes that show a smooth gradation through the population. Okay, it could be height, it could be weight, it could be color. Okay, it is not extreme, isn't it? Like right, for example, if it is color, okay, black and white. No, there is a lot of like medial color ranges. Okay, likewise, there are plenty of such characters which show fluctuating variations. Okay, when genetic variations are large and sudden, producing two or more extreme variations without any intermediate stages, they are known as discontinuous variations. Okay, so discontinuous variations are those variations which result in extremes. Okay, no intermediate stages. For example, blood group, it could be A, B, O, or AB. There is no intermediate between that. Okay, likewise, for example, the character, tongue rolling character. Okay, uh, uh, either a person can roll the tongue, or the person cannot. Okay, we cannot have an intermediate stages in between. So such kind of variations are known as discontinuous variations. And these two variations, continuous and discontinuous variations, are types of genotypic variations. So these two are heritable. Okay, now if any of these variations is useful to the possessor or enables the organism for better adaptation to the environment, it is known as favorable variations, right? So among the genotypic variations, if any of the variation is helping the individual or the species for getting adapted to the environment, such variations are known as favorable variations. And variations that are useless or harmful to the possessor, they are known as unfavorable variations. So unfavorable variations are those variations which are not going to give any positive adaptive value to the possessor. Okay, vestigial organs are one of the, presence of vestigial organs, it is actually unfavorable because it is not used, isn't it? So unfavorable variations. So Darwin recognized widespread occurrence of variations in nature, but he could not explain the reasons for the origin of variations. And this was because the laws of inheritance were not known during Darwin's period. Okay, therefore, he was not in a position to distinguish heritable variation from the non-heritable variation, that is genetic variation from the phenotypic variations. Okay, and Darwin placed emphasis on fluctuating variations as the main factor for evolution. So that is regarding the variations among individuals and species. Okay, the next we have the secondly, Darwin argued that every living organism has the potential for excessive multiplication or maximum multiplication. If all the young ones survive and reproduce for several generations, obviously the whole earth will be covered by or overcrowded by members of a single species. Okay, not even the whole species existing on the earth, just a single species is enough to reproduce and overcrowd the whole earth. But this doesn't happen. Why is it so? Because there is always check from the natural factors. Okay, so for example, the protozoan paramecium undergoes division 3 times in 48 hours. So if all the descendants were to survive and multiply for 5 years unchecked, actually they would produce a volume of protoplasm that equal to the 10,000 times the volume of the earth. So there are plenty of such examples on conducted on smaller organisms, how fast they multiply, how under optimum conditions, how far the population can increase and all. Okay, one example was that of the paramecium. And even slow breeding animals, so which reproduce only once in 10 years. So Darwin calculated that a single pair of elephants would bring forth as many as 19 million elephants in the course of 750 years if all the young ones survive. So this a particular factor, geometric ratio of increase in population, this was actually influenced by the essays on population by T.R. Malthus. T.R. Malthus, actually, he was an economist and he worked on human population. But the similar observation, I mean, similar what you call hypothesis was included in the theory of natural selection by Darwin. Okay, the next one is the struggle for existence. Even under ordinary conditions, animals never multiply to such a large number as indicated by the geometric pattern. Okay, this is because their number remains checked, or whenever there is an increase in number, there will be like a struggle between the members for food supply, shelter, breeding places. It may also be checked or limited by diseases, predation, etc. So animals will compete with each other and also with the members of other species. So competing with each other means it is intra-specific competition, and when it is competing with other species, it is interspecific competition. Okay, so there is always such kind of a struggle for all these requirements for their survival. Okay,